large men to rest, I can't help but think that the Lord works in mysterious ways. After all, these are the undefeated 72 Dolphins, and I'm a lifelong fan of the team they defeated in the Super Bowl that fateful season, the Washington R-Words. But today, in the eyes of the Lord, we are not merely Dolphins, or merely R-Words, but football fans, united here on this blessed Sunday, grateful that this tragedy befell these gridiron heroes during the off-season. But that's enough for me. Let's hear from the teammates and family members who knew these gridiron greats the best. I have asked Eddie Anasarka, the son of one of the deceased greats of the gridiron. Eddie?
Thank you, Father Davis DeLay, for calling me up.
That's Saint Davis.
Thank you. My name is Eddie Anasarka. I'm the son of $7. He was my half-father. And I would just like to read something I wrote to honor their memory today. Oh, Captain, my Captain, our fearful trip is done. The ship has weathered every rack, the prize we sought is won. The port is near, the bells I hear, the people all exulting, while follow eyes the steady keel, the vessel grim and daring. But oh, heart, 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 for the bleeding drops of red. That's pretty much it. Father, thank you.
Saint, but yes, thank you for reading that. It was very touching. Now, we'd like to introduce a few other members of that legendary 72 team. How about we start with you, Slevin Garnett?
How's it going?
I hope you're holding it together here on this extremely tragic day.
I am not. Today's one of the worst days of my life.
Slevin Garnett, he was, as many of you may know, he was born in Philhelmuth, Kentucky, to his parents, Jake and Mike. Mike was his mom, who was a girl. Slevin was the Kentucky State Player of the Year 6 times, which is how long kids in Kentucky have to go to high school. He was drafted first overall by the Dolphins in 1994 because at the combine, they saw him punch a pig so hard.
The delay is not bad.
He was a 9-time Pro Bowler, and the one year he wasn't was because he missed half the games because he got really lost in the woods. Now, also here we've got Orlando Bloom. How are you hanging in there, Orlando?
I'm doing very good, Santa Delight. Thank you very much. I'm doing fine. This is a hallowed day, but there's a lot of respect in the air, and I feel respectful.
Now, Mr. Bloom was born in Chowdaquiddick, Rhode Island. Picked up football at the age of 26 while in jail for trying to do a casino heist that he called Ocean's 1. 4-time Roundup Weed Killer Young Player of the Year in his late 30s. All-time record holder for closest 1-to-1 height-to-width ratio in NFL history. Ran for governor of Rhode Island 4 times while trying to pardon himself after his soup company lost $1 billion of the state's money. He owns a drive-through Sonic-style fancy Italian restaurant that is also a car dealership. And he drives the world's longest Buick, which is saying something.
Yes, I do. Barry, it's huge.
Now, Melvin Macaroni, how are you hanging in there?
It's been a tough time. You just don't expect, men well into their 80s, to just go like this. I thought they had more time, I'm not saying they're young, but it's still sad.
Well, it's sad. 5 linemen would die 5 days in a row.
It's such a tragedy, The first one, the first guy that died, I was like, okay. And then they just kept coming, they kept coming. It's just a shame.
Well, I've heard that, hunting dogs who live their whole lives together, when one of them passes away, the other one will likely pass away soon after. And I could imagine there's something like that going on here.
It's the same thing with brother and sister cats as well. They'll die like that.
And uncle and nephew cats as well.
Yep.
But, Melvin Macaroni, he needs no introduction, but just for those who aren't aware, he was born in Mr. Dandy, Missouri. He was a three-sport star at Mr. Dandy Untechnical School, where he played football, baseball, and grab ass. He was drafted in 1972 by the Dolphins after scoring a perfect 0 on the Wonderlic, deemed to be the most coachable scorer. He played 10 seasons in the NFL due to a paperwork mix-up. He now runs a restaurant in Mr. Dandy, Missouri called Macaroni and Spaghetti. Thank you for that good introduction. You know, these guys passing away and just sitting here next to Slevin and Orlando, it's bringing back a lot of memories. I mean, everybody knows Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow. You guys are just amazing football players. And, you know, it was a pleasure playing alongside you. And you know, my heart aches at this time. It really does.
Yeah, it was the best years of my life were spent playing next to Orlando here. You know, I always tell people I'll never forget my time with the World of Tomorrow. Yeah, people come up to me all the time and they say, hey, World of Tomorrow, how did you know that movie was going to be made? And I said, they copied us. They copied us 8 years after our goddamn time. That movie made $800 million domestic, and they shipped it. All right? They scanned us. And if I ever see one of those motherfuckers, I'm going to fucking break their fucking neck. If I see Jude Law ever, I broke my TV the other day when Sherlock was on, and I was punched. And
it gets better in the next seasons. It does. Well, I'm not trying to be a Dolphins hater here at this tragic moment, but I gotta say, you're not the
let me get a separate sheet for the steps.
They started fucking naming a couple of planets after him.
Translate his weird ass half German. Okay.
Which one got which nickname?
Well, it's sort of the nicknames are sort of thrust upon.
Apex
I patrolled the defensive backfield with sort of the authority and grace of that of a captain of this side. And I've been the World of Tomorrow since I was like 5. That was my nickname when I was like a little kid. I don't really know. I think it's Italian. That's where my mother started calling me it when I was 5. And it just kind of clicked. I went to Thanksgiving. I used to go to Thanksgiving at his place, and everybody called him the World of Tomorrow. Nobody called him Orlando. You know, you get names when you're on the block. You know, these are the kind of things that when they respect you, they give you a name. And they knew when I was 5 that I was going to go on to great things. That's why they called me for a nickname.
Well, as you guys know,
Is that upper or lower?
Tomorrow, my two godfathers.
That's a lower.
$7. And I didn't know what the real news was. I was about 6 years old. But I still like to call them that myself.
Oh, we got a fair amount of room there.
We are happy to see the good man that you've grown up into.
Let's put A like right there. Let's see how we rate the frame.
Little nickel. Because his dad's name was $7. So yeah, we always call you our little nickel no matter what.
I love you guys. I didn't grow up to have my father's stature, but I don't think...
Oh, this is lagging.
It's
Way behind.
impossible, I think. You know, your father, $7 was a great man, and you know, he was physically imposing. I think most people here, I can see a lot of blushing going on in the room, knew about $7, famous endowment, between the legs, and, what a good guy to have for a father. I'm sorry, half-father. Was it half-father?
Oh, yes, he was a twin. And him and his twin brother dated my mother. She didn't know who she was dating sometimes, because they didn't know that they were dating her at the time, but...
Yeah, they look just alike,
So I don't really know who my dad is biologically. It's one of them, so I always call them both my half-brothers.
There's more than you would think with the twins dating the same person. That's I've joined 3 gyms in my life, and in each gym, there's been an instance of 2 twins dating the same person.
Well, I don't like to talk about it. It's a bit embarrassing, and especially now that he's deceased and it's a funeral, but my uncle, $6, he didn't have my dad's equipment, for lack of a better term. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I'm saying that, maybe father...
It was respectable.
Hickory
It was
here.
respectable.
$6 out of 5. $6 out of 5.
You seem like a cool priest, Father. I'm just gonna let you know, $7. He's famous for having a huge penis.
You can see kind of the casket here. That's why we're trying to stuff it down and it won't like close all the way.
Yeah.
So that's what he's talking about. And I don't mean to be crass, and I don't want to, discriminate or disrespect the dead or whatnot. But I feel like that's a compliment to me. To me,
And I
that's a
think many
compliment
people
to
who
me.
especially were fans of the 72 Dolphins knew because he's in his uniform. He wore a bike helmet for a cup.
Prime 7?
Yeah, that was common. We had we
Prime
had to make
one.
like a separate
Okay.
locker room for his cup. He had like a whole equipment bag. There was a guy who was responsible for getting different kinds of cup-shaped implements. We had a kitchen set at
We
one
made
point.
rookies drink soup out of it.
Yeah, we had a whole big. We would ladle. We would make gumbo, and we would make it in his cup.
Oh, I remember that soup. You guys kept telling me it was fake soup and
They would make the rookies drink out of it.
Well, I thought it was Chinese, and I thought, well, I'm an open-minded guy.
Okay, we're
I'll
gonna
drink
pick
some soup.
point
I'm a
F.
rookie, they're gonna do whatever they want.
To
That's
fit
how it was
on
back
similar
then.
to
I had to
how
do what they say.
Phillies
Here.
would drink a shoey where they pour a beer into a shoe and drink out of it. Well, they would do that with the cup, with the rookies.
Oh, and
They
sometimes
call it
not
hoppy.
beer. They throw different stuff, different liquids at you to keep you on your toes. They get port wine, real thick red wine, and make you drink the whole thing. Sometimes I'd end up drinking 1-2 bottles of wine before the game even started.
It is very, very tragic, though, how he died. Just a horrible. I mean, to be cleaning your gutter and fall off your ladder like that, and then fall into a patch of grubs and get slowly eaten by grubs in the tall grass. I mean, every man fears going out that way, and finally happened to Seven.
It's kind of funny that he's a twin because that's exactly how the Coors Light twins died too, just this last year.
Rest in peace to those Coors Light twins. I will remember that. I remember the commercials, pretty well, vividly. I wasn't blessed with the same thing that $7 was blessed with. But I'm a red-blooded man. I'll admit that.
Well, I'm glad that we're all reminiscing about $7, but I know Melvin, you had some prepared remarks you'd like to read to eulogize him.
Yes, I do. It's a sad occasion, but wow. What can I say about $7 that hasn't already been said about a walrus, He was very territorial, he didn't like to move around, and his penis, did have a bone in it. It had a physical bone, much like a walrus. And, I remember when I first met $7. I remember the very first day, He said that I was his rookie, and, at the time I didn't know what that meant, He was a big, intimidating fella. I just kind of went along with what he said. One day he had a really bad game. It was Deacon Jones was the opposing defensive end, and Deacon had just gotten the first LASIK surgery, So back then it was customary to play through your injuries. We all played through injuries.
I was playing through injuries.
Oh,
I would
here in
sometimes
my
injure
bones
myself on
snap.
purpose.
Cartilage. I got no cartilage. Even in my nose it's barely there. But Deacon Jones is wearing these big black wide frame sunglasses the whole game, because of surgery. He's not seeing shit. He's pass rushing into the wrong area, going backwards, tackling guys in the stand. But it was a bad game for $7 because Deacon kept, I don't know how to say it, but Mr. Magooing his way around the field, dodging $7, chop blocks, gap blocks, etc. And, he ended up with 3 sacks. So, $7 was pretty mad after the game. He tapped me on the shoulder and asked me to follow him out into the parking lot. Long story short, he asked me to hit him with his car. And I did. I don't know if it was a penance thing or a training thing, but as I hit him, his huge penis flies out of his pants and shatters my headlight, And that's what I'll always remember about him, that wild, disgusting story instead of anything at all about his personality or temperament. It's a shame about the way he died getting ate by all those grubs in that grass, but, it seems fitting in a way. He died the way he lived, stupidly and with a huge penis.
I remember the Mr. Magoo game. He killed a ref. He sacked the ref so hard that he knocked his head off. It was beautiful.
It went flying into the stands. I remember that. People were trying to grab it like it was a football, not really knowing what it was yet, Things got a little crazy after that, a little bit, but, everybody remembers that. It was a good game.
Yeah, despite my own distakes for the Dolphins, I've always respected him for being the only player in NFL history whose penis was credited with half a sack.
Oh yeah, he tripped. I remember a guy stepped on it when he ran by him.
Yeah, by the end of his career, he couldn't feel anything. And his penis, all the nerves were shot, but that's just the kind of guy he was.
He left it
I
all
can't
on the
feel
line.
anything in my penis either.
Yeah, my penis has been dead since probably
My
like
penis is a
what?
fucking
The
wreck.
90s? Like the late 90s? I mean, back then too, we all tackled leading with our heads. So I took a lot of shots to the penis. I took a lot of shots to the butt. Probably more so to the penis and butt than anywhere else, coincidentally. When I
Yeah, it was a low tackle level league back in the day. You had to really you hunted the balls.
You're like a wolf.
You know,
When I
like
was
a
never
lion.
wrapped
You
up.
have
I
some
never
sort of
wrapped
My
up.
father, he gave me a section of that ref
Sirloin X.
he killed. I never knew he had it.
Oh, that's, yeah. Up top
It's still on my
is
mantle.
X.
And I look at it all the time. Sometimes I smell it.
Hatland.
It smells like a ref.
147.
A ref's bone.
I sold my my section of the spine. I pawned that for $1,800.
Oh wow.
You know, a lot of people don't know this, but that's why refs are dressed like zebras.
Okay, project straight down.
These guys up there, they're hunters.
Horse.
Like, if a ref gets in the way, that's prey.
You know, if they wanted to be protective, they'd probably wear orange vests.
Or a helmet.
That's true, especially if they're getting tackled by super strong blind guys. You know, I'd go out there with a cup and a helmet. But then again, you know, I'm not a ref, you know, and thank God, you know, because then my life would be essentially forfeit while I'm on a football field.
So we're straight down off the intersection.
Oh, I know. I see the look in your eyes. I can see it now.
Yeah, I got some reps at addresses I know, and I follow them around in my enormous Buick very inconspicuously, but one day they'll...
Oh,
they'll
we've
know I
picked an
follow them.
arbitrary bottom. Okay.
Many people here don't know that the beginning, the intro, famous intro of the film, Bruce Willis, called The Last Boy Scout.
That makes more sense. So it's even.
That actually happened on the 72 Dolphins. It was pulled on a ref. It was one of the
It was legal that season. It was legal, and no one took advantage of it more than Miami.
Yeah, I remember actually, they based that on me because I was actually the last ever Boy Scout. If I recall correctly, I think
Sure, disbanded.
it disbanded
so.
after I went through it and got a wood carving damage. And then I shot a ref. I did it to get in with the family in Providence. I got made.
He ripped off one of Frank
Congratulations
Parkinson's
on it. It's a different time. They can still date cheerleaders then as well.
Well, you could say all kinds of stuff to them. You could say like, hey, I'm in the mob. I am a murderer. You can't go to the cops about this, but I've killed several people, and isn't that nice?
He did say that. You know, I was a rookie at the time, so he would make me follow him holding a towel. You know, the towel wasn't for anything. He just said it made me look subservient. And yeah, he would sexually harass those cheerleaders for, 2-4 hours, a long time. Like it doesn't sound like a lot, but try sexually harassing a person for 2 hours straight. You're gonna get tired.
Yeah, in the '67 Pro Bowl, he made 4 of them cry. We used to do drills. We used to do harassment drills until we puked.
Yep. Oh, you guys would practice on me in the locker room. I remember that. I got introduced to the rat tail there in 1972. And, you guys would, bring me to go take the shower first, you would say. And then, we got some stories for you. They're rat tails. And at first I didn't get it until he started beating me. And, but 3 hours later I got it.
real rat's tail.
Well, 3 players
We
died that
always
year
had
due to rat tails. Father, imagine giving last rites to someone who died from a locker room rat tail. You don't see that these days.
Well, I've done it a number of times, honestly.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, it's still as prevalent as ever, but the NFL is serious about doing something about it now. They claim they're working on technology to prevent rat tails. It's a new type of towel that won't allow you to rat tail people with it.
Did you gentlemen have any eulogies you wrote for $7?
I did not. Look, I gotta be honest with you. I speak from the heart. I haven't written a single word since there was a particular game where I received a hit to the spot in the spine that I think that controls your hands, and I can't write anymore.
Well, look at those things go, huh? Those hands are just dancing right there.
Yeah, these things are basically just barometers for where the wind is. That's kind of their thing.
Yeah, they're so limp. I wouldn't even have thought. You have no structure in them at all.
Yeah, I kind of look like the 1930s Frankenstein. You know, like I sometimes I walk around with my arms like fully out for whatever reason.
You got the same blazer too.
Yeah,
He's wearing a
I'm not
purple.
saying
He's
anything.
wearing a purple blazer, like a Frankenstein. Interesting. My father
I
would have
have
loved to be
holes in
here
my
today. I mean, he's still here with
Well,
us. I think,
yeah.
but I would just like to think that if he was alive right now and he was saying these eulogies with all of you for these other players, he'd whip it out for old time's sake. I gotta believe it. I believe in my heart he would.
I'm excited. You know, not to say excited because that's a little grim, but I'm excited for when we do the proper burial. To just try to get that thing under the dirt, you know. I think it's going to give people a lot of trouble. I'm looking forward to the hijinks it's going to cause. You know, you don't get a lot of good hijinks at a funeral.
yeah, I'm very excited.
Oh yeah,
I-
and that ground is frozen solid. I mean, we're gonna have a hard time,
especially with all 5 caskets.
yeah.
You just get a little hot water and mud will make it all congeal together. I'm not too worried about it.
Right in the center of the football field too.
Perhaps we
True.
should move on
Dolphins,
to
they gotta
another
play
match.
tomorrow.
They
so
gotta play very soon.
Yeah, so we gotta get in and get out.
Yeah, let's move on to Jim M. Burship. I don't know who wants to say the first words here.
I can say that I mean most people know Jim and Burship for what happened to him after his playing days. He fell on hard times, and you've all seen the viral YouTube video, worst deal or no deal run ever. And he really needed that money bad. I remember that. He went on Deal or No Deal, and he was so excited this was finally
Oh, yeah.
the chance to turn his life around. And he just, I mean, he blew it so hard. I mean, first case, $1 million. Second case, $500,000. Third case, $400,000, all the way down. And that's the kind of guy he was.
I remember that Howie started feeling so bad for him that when he would pick a case, Howie would sort of kind of try to subtly shake his head to kind of signal that he shouldn't. But you know, Jim, he never really understood nuance.
No, but he
So
was a fighter.
He was a fight, and he tried to fight Howie because he thought that was sort of an act of aggression. I remember that. Yeah, he called Howie some names that you can't call people on TV.
And he kept going, and he got all the way down to the last 2 cases, and there were 2 left, and it was a penny and $1. And at this point, you know, you kind of have to see what's in your case, don't you? But that's Jim for you. The bank called, and they said, we'll give you 45 cents for your case. And he took the 45 cents. So,
And guess what was in his case?
That was a
$1.
good deal, though. I think that was a good I think that was a good deal, though. That was a good decision at the end because there was a chance he could have got a penny.
right, it's a vexing game.
yeah.
It's a very
It doesn't
vexing
seem
game.
like it has a lot of depth, but you know, it has a lot of depth if you mess up the whole time. It really
Sort of
does
the
have a
story
lot
of
of
America.
depth.
They,
You know,
they
people-
actually invented it on the Silk Road. There used to be traders that would play that game on the Silk Road, and that evolved into the modern game that is now Deal or No Deal. It's very
You know,
ancient.
some people think, oh, well, what did he need the money anyway? He was some kind of big hotshot NFL player. But people don't realize back in the 70s, you were working for minimum wage. That was like $6 an hour. Top
He made $23,000 during his playing career.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know
you didn't get
Jim's
paid for
like
practice either.
Jim's
You got
side
paid by
job.
the hour in games only.
Yeah, Jim had 2 side jobs when he was working on the 72 Dolphins. He was the first ever Grubhub driver, and when he wasn't doing that, he was flipping books from the library. So he would go to the library and he would steal a book and he would sell it outside the library.
Yeah, he called that a job. I always thought that was very interesting. That you know, I never thought of it that way, but I guess in that way that he described it, it is a job. You know.
Well, Dan Marino
Yeah,
was
he,
the first Dolphin to even make $1 million, and that had to be from what, like going on a 7-Up commercial or something? I don't know.
I would leave during halftime to sell cotton candy up there. You know, we weren't making a lot back then. You know, I'm not complaining, but we weren't making a lot. You know, I remember after the Deal or No Deal thing,
Yeah.
Jim called me, and he didn't really elaborate. or explain why. He just kept going, you know, I'm a dead man.
Well, the
I'm a
old
dead man.
y'all have
bury
plan number
me
7.
now, because I'm dead. You
Got
know,
it.
he kept going on and be like, what's the problem? Who's after me? And he's like, they're all after me.
Melvin,
All the
Melvin,
bad
Melvin.
ones.
Rolling on your lapel mic, what's up there?
Oh, sorry, I didn't even know it. You know,
It just
hold on.
spills out, I know, it's okay.
Let
No,
me
he
just
would,
put
he
a
would,
cotton
you
wad
see,
in
he
my
would
mouth
call me
there,
a
Francis.
lot. That's kind of, now that you mention it, I used to love talking to him when he would call and say he was after me. It was so funny because it was, that's Jim. Everybody's always after him, so he would just call me and scream at me over and over, and I would say, yeah, no, that's great, and it's so good to hear from you, and you are a great guy, and you were a good player, and it was so good to hear from him. I don't know if anyone ever was after him, but
And now that I think about it, he would also call me a lot and tell me that people were following him. And I would say, yeah, Jimmy, you have 374 followers on Twitter. You're doing great, bud. But now that I think about it, maybe he was talking about something else.
who's to say?
Who's to say?
Who's to say? You know, you can never predict with these guys. And, you know, back then in 1972, you know, we didn't have, you know, schizophrenia. You know, we didn't have, you know, paranoia. Those weren't words that were, you know, tossed around. You know, we just said, you know, Jim's unique, you know. Yeah, I wrote a little something about him here, if you don't mind me reading it there,
Oh,
Pastor.
please, that's why we're here.
Just wanted to say a story that I had with Jim and kind of talk about, you know, his mindscape. I even feel like now most people remember Jim as that guy on Deal or No Deal who beefed it, you know, but, you know, Jim always kind of made a lot of bad decisions. We all remember the last years of his life. You know, a lot of people say, you know, he sold his soul, you know, to that bald, you know, beaker-looking motherfucker, you know, for 48 cents. And instead, I want to kind of bring up, you know, some of the good decisions and the smart things that Jim said to me. It was my rookie year in 1972. We were undefeated. And Jim just walks up to me one day, and he kind of shoves me in the shoulder, which I was used to. That's kind of how I got treated around there. And he goes, Melvin, I want you to know that I buy over 1,000 lottery tickets a day so that I'm going to be the only one who wins from now. I think the earth is flat. I think eating shellfish makes you gay. And I guess what? These computer things are going nowhere. He said, he continued, the government's wrong about sodium. It's really, really good for you, and my doctor says that I can have as much sodium as I want. So he wasn't always dumb, you know. He said some smart things. I remember that, and I was very smart at the time. So, you know, I just don't want people to kind of look at his, you know, I'm looking at his dead body now in the coffin, and he kind of has like a dumb look on his face. And I think that would be a shame if people thought he was dumb, because he really was, you know, of just, you know, mildly below average intelligence, maybe.
And that's pretty smart in the old days of the NFL. That was you were in the league and you could spell the number 3. You were Abraham Lincoln. You know, that's kind of what it
You
was.
could pick your own number if you could name a number. You could pick whatever number you wanted to wear in your jersey.
Yeah, but
I would tell people I was number dim.
Most
No,
people
your number.
couldn't name a number. That's right. I remember that.
I think for one game your number was a percentage sign.
Yeah. Yeah, and 9
You kept
sacks
trying to
that
tell us
game.
that was Tim.
And perhaps it's time we move on to MC Monkey Dude.
Ah, yeah, great man. Great
The
man.
MC.
Wait, do we remember how Jim died before we move on? Anybody remember what happened to Jim?
Oh, I remember. Jim. Well, we all know the CTE got Jim real bad in the end. And one time I remember I was told he was at a gun range. And for some reason, like a switch flipped. He for some reason suddenly thought that he was at his old high school job, shagging golf balls at the driving range. And so he went out there
Radio's
with
the
a
apex.
mattress on his back, and tried to shag the bullets
and was immediately taken down by a 50 cal sniper rifle.
Oh, it's a kill shot.
It's a kill shot.
But
It was actually
everybody
several
knew.
kill shots. Yeah, almost like they were aiming for. Almost like they were aiming. It was a firing
Until they
squad
crossed.
sort of situation. The mattress did not do
Why
what he
did
thought
he?
it would do.
I'm just
You're right
curious.
there.
Why I asked
All the
my
way
dad
up.
this?
Okay.
Why did he paint a big red target on the back of the mattress?
Well, he
You know,
said
he
it
had
was
his way.
sort
It
of
was
an
the death
ancient
drive in him.
Sumerian symbol. I think that was his number. That was his. I think that was his. He thought that was his number.
He thought
that
that
was
might
his
as well
number.
have had a kick me sign for a number. I mean, sorry.
Well,
for
that was
laughing.
also his number.
Yeah,
for
he-
about 5
he
seasons.
did
Changed
have that
numbers
as
when
well.
we signed whatever the
Before we
name
signed
of our
Monkey
quarterback
Dude.
was.
Bob Gracie.
Bob Greasy, yeah. So he had to change his number from Zug to Mobe.
Yeah, I think you know, for a brief time his number was just he said it was Tusk. He was number Tusk. Yeah, but who's to know why he did what he did? And you know, I'm not blaming the 4 or 5 people that lit him up. I have no hate in my heart for them at all. You know, it's just nature running its course, so to speak. You know, and it was his time. That's why it's, you know, like, yeah, it was an accident, yeah, it was a tragedy, but it was his time. You know, I only have so many minutes on my phone, and if he kept calling about who's, you know, I got to talk to my grandson.
Oh yeah, at some point you kind of had to stop answering the calls.
Yeah, I mean, my phone rings so loud, everybody gets so mad.
You know, you can only listen to the chicken dance so many times, and that's kind of the problem I have with my phone. It just, you know,
Well,
4
we
or 5
got you the
times
Cricket
it calls.
Wireless, so it'd be simpler for you. But all you do is just sit on it all day, talking on the phone to these 2 guys, which I think is great.
We love talking on
I
it.
know you all folks
I
get
like when he
lonely.
calls me and it plays That's Amore at probably 150 decibels, like it's a motorcycle engine.
So you can feel it vibrating in your pocket to the point where it causes a bruise on your old ass leg.
Oh man, when I was living with my dad in his final years, helping take care of him, you guys would call him, and all the ringtones, like, you guys would go on those lists, like funnyringtones.gov, and you get them one that says, like, pick up the phone, motherfucker! And I would hear that at 3 a.m., like, through the
I
walls.
love those ringtones.
And
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he loved it, but it did give me some sleepless nights, but now I kind of missed him.
I remember Jim's ringtone was the SNL intro sequence from, like, I don't know, the mid 2000s, sort of the Bill Hader era.
as well.
They had him doing all the names and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Oh, Kristen
and
Wiig.
and it
Love
played
her.
the whole thing, the whole cast.
Oh. It would always end with, ladies and gentlemen, the Fratellis. I'll miss Jim. Maybe we should go on to
What do we have to say about MC Monkey Do? Anyone want to go first?
yeah, I can tell a story about old Monkey Do. So, you know, I had a close relationship with Monkey Do. You know, we were both on the deep, you know, he was on the line. I was a linebacker. We had, lockers right next to each other. I was the only rookie on the team in '72, so it was kind of my job to do a lot of dirty work. So one of my duties was to cover Monkey Do head to toe in calamine lotion before every single game. Well, it wasn't exactly calamine lotion. He's got other stuff in it that, he kind of custom made it. But, see, Monkey Do loved getting bit by insects. He'd run through the swamp. He would eat cat food. He'd get a bunch of raw meat under his fingernails, whatever. He would get powerful smells and stuff. He would put on he would order these aphrodisiacs out of magazines and put them all on his, helmet and stuff. He said it gave him a competitive edge. I don't know. But then after all that, he'd be doing his practice regimen where he covers himself in stinky stuff, and then after the game, I'd have to cover him in Monkey Do's secret stuff, which, it was a combination of calamine lotion, gasoline, spicy brown mustard, and a little bit of accione paste.
He had
So he'd be covered.
He had all kinds of, he was a fighter, man. He was, some guys will just do anything to win. Some guys won't shower just to get an edge over the competition, and he took that to an unbelievably stinky degree. I mean, this guy, he was good too. He would, I remember he got the owners to build a bog next to the stadium, and he would lay in the bog for hours and hours, and when it came time for the linemen to come in, he would emerge from the bog covered in reeds and dragonflies. And as soon as you try to tackle a guy covered in reeds and dragonflies, you knew that you didn't have a shot at getting into QB.
Oh, yeah, and, he'd be covered in that stuff after the games, and he said, I would have to put the lotion on him because he thought the bug bites were getting into his bloodstream, right, and making it in his brainstem, and they were making him think like a bug, So after the game, he's laid there for 2-3 hours, and the lotion mixture that I would make for him would dry out and harden, so I'd have to hit it with a hammer to kind of bust him out of there. He looked like he was in a big wax statue of himself, and I'd have to kind of rescue him after games. Well, one time I forgot I lotioned him up and he dried out and stuff, and he was in there for over 14 hours. So I wake up in the middle of the night, like out of bed, or remembering that I forgot him. I rush to the stadium, I smash his lotion sarcophagus with a ball-peen hammer, and he spills out onto the floor all covered in weird fluid like Neo did when he was freed from the infamous Matrix. And he looked about 10 years younger, and I'll never forget what Monkey Doo said to me. He looked up at me and he said, "Melvin, my true name is Serafino, and I'm a football angel that God sent to the wicked earth, and I'll never die." And you know what? I'm looking at his dead, dumb corpse now, and for the first time I realized, maybe he wasn't an actual angel. Maybe he was just overdosing on calamine lotion. But the point is, I spent the last 50 years thinking that he was a literal angel from heaven.
Oh, yeah, he pulled the Serafino prank on a lot of rookies.
Oh, yeah. He
Yeah.
scared Larry Zonka half to death in 62.
Oh, yeah, he had, actually, one guy became a nun. One guy got so spooked by the angel bit that he became a male nun.
Yeah, not a priest, mind you.
I didn't even know that was a bit. I thought he was just another crazy guy. That's amazing. Oh, well, I believed it. I did.
One time, he and my father had a sleepover on Thanksgiving. I don't know why, but they were up all night watching movies and stuff and eating candy and snacks and going crazy, wrestling. They did a thing where they put these sleeping bags over themselves and they'd run at each other at full speed trying to knock each other out. They called it slugs. And anyway, I remember when he came over that night, he had this weird facial hair, and he went to the bathroom, and I asked my dad, I said, why does he have that beard? My dad was like, that's lichen, son. He's been growing it for months. And the next morning, he shed all of it. He looked 20 years younger. I don't know why.
That's our
He went
start
through those cycles, but I thought he was an angel
of the
too.
arc right there.
It's a shame how he died, It's a big shame, You hate to see these things, and I don't want to spoil the funeral. Well, I guess you can't really spoil a funeral, but it's very unfortunate. That was one, a lot of these guys, I saw how they died, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. But Monkey Doo, it just doesn't feel right,
Yeah, that was a bit of a black mark on the 72 Dolphins legacy. I remember when I heard about that.
Someone want to open up about his final days?
Well, when I heard Monkey Doo died, I wasn't sad because, in my
Oh
opinion,
shit, no, that was in frame. I'm way
I
off
don't
the
know if I
thing.
ever told you guys this story. Well, one day it was 2001.
There we go. I gotta get the charger.
13th, I remember. It was 2 a.m. And he calls me because he's trying to get into competitive eating. He's trying to make some extra money. And he's going to the peep eating competition, the national peep eating competition, the Easter candy. And I watch him eat 237 peeps in 20 minutes. And then I watch him keel over. And when he was put in the hospital, the doctor told me that because he was dunking the peeps into water before he ate them, because I guess he had been watching the hot dog eating contest.
They do that with the bread.
And they do that with the bread so it goes down easy. He was doing that before he ate the peeps. But what Monkey Doo, nor I didn't know about the peeps, was if you dunk them in water, they expand, like those dinosaur eggs that you buy at CVS. And 237 peeps expanding in your stomach at the same time can cause a lot of intestinal problems. And
the doctor said his heart popped like a zit.
like a zit.
And, I thought that was appropriate for a doctor to say, but he went out there and he said
It's almost like the heat death, impending heat death of the universe, except with Easter.
well, I don't know anything about that, but yeah, his heart popped like a zit, and apparently he also told us that he smelled like shit when he died, which it seems a little rude for a doctor,
That's very fitting, you know.
That's how I wanted to go.
That's a little twinkle from on high, a little sign from above that the good Lord's watching us, and that He remembers what we were when we walked this earth.
Well, I guess that makes sense.
How about Marcus Aurelius? Does anyone want to say a few words about him?
Oh, wow. Marcus,
He was
what do
just
you
sort of
say
a
about a guy like
question
that?
mark.
Well, I got a story with Marcus. Marcus was the first man to reach out for me after I got drafted by the Dolphins. So he calls me down. He says he wants me to come down to his house in Miami. And that's right after Marcus did his commercial for Ford Trucks where he killed that nerd with the truck. So, I figured Marcus lived in this...
the vroom vroom suck it commercial.
Yeah.
I remember that
Yeah.
Everybody said it when they
Vroom, vroom,
drove.
suck it.
Yeah,
He
he
wrote
was
a
like,
song with that in it.
this guy saying, we don't need a big car because, the environment or whatever. And, Marcus says, vroom, vroom, suck it, and just smokes the guy. They didn't have special effects back then, so I know that I heard on set he had to hit the guy like 7-8 times. And that's not a lot for a big guy, but for a nerd, that'll just break it. I heard the guy.
You know what that
died.
nerd was Ewan McGregor.
But, I figured Marcus lived in this crazy mansion. He was living in this 2-bedroom place, like in the suburbs, not even anywhere near the water, He was like next to a car wash and a Hooters knockoff restaurant where the waitresses had abs and were mean to you. Check cashing places, not the place you expect to find a Pro Bowl tackle. So he meets me outside, invites me in. The only food or drink he has in the house is tepid water and stale bread. He said he wanted to give me a warning about all the hazing the rest of the team was planning for in 72. I don't think you two know this, but he gave me the scoop on everything you guys were planning for me. Because I was the only
Are you kidding me?
yeah, no, he told me what you guys were doing.
Oh my
He
God.
sat me down and he listed it. He said the team had been writing letters back and forth, about what kind of hazing stuff they were going to do to me that year. He listed it all. Fart play, ass stuff, nuts, tats, purple nurples, black nurples, red nurples. He said that
Fucking assholes.
crucifying me. He actually bought a crucifix.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Bobby's crucifix.
No,
I
he
remember
built that
With his
crucifix.
bare hands.
I remember
I didn't
that.
know he
Him
built
and
it. He just said
Brian,
he
my
bought
My
it.
dad helped him build it.
Oh,
I
man.
think Sky Captain of the World Tomorrow did too. I had
Oh, yeah.
some old Polaroids.
Oh, you guys
drinking
were all
beers
going to
and-
crucifix.
Yeah, we had a
rookie.
whole thing where you had to do the walk that Jesus
Yeah,
did.
we were gonna stab you with a spear.
We were gonna have people deny you and everything.
Mhm.
We were gonna get another rookie to be Barabbas.
Yeah, in the same way that the military pays for the flyovers, the church that year actually paid for the crucifixions, hoping it would be good publicity for us.
Yeah, we paid
They
Bob
said they were
Fosse
gonna
to
do it
do a
at
dance
halftime.
number that we choreographed.
Oh yeah, we got Liza Minnelli. She was gonna do a thing when you died.
Oh, I love her.
What, you were going to kill me?
Well,
Cabaret.
you're supposed to come back to life
You're
after
a-
3 days.
have you read the- you haven't read the
Yeah,
story?
I never read the good book.
No harm, no foul. But he
Oh, it's
gave
gonna
me
be
the
on.
biggest scoop. He said Larry Sanko was going to fuck me. He said he wasn't going to do a bit either, that Larry Sanko was going to use me like I'm a lady and there's nothing I can do about it. So I said, well, Marcus, if you were me and you knew Larry Sanko was going to fuck you and you didn't have a choice, what would you do about it? And then he gave me old iron here, my giant iron chastity belt. And I wore that the whole season. And I tell you what, Larry Sanko was so mad. But that's just the kind of nice guy Marcus was.
Yeah, he actually had that chastity belt because he was kind of a ladies' man before he got that chastity belt on him. I remember he used to be dating Wilma Flintstone back in like the late 60s. He was He was a real jet-setting type before he kind of
No,
got
that's when
quieted
she
down.
was at her hottest. That was prime Wilma then.
Wilma Flintstone also incredibly rude.
Oh, she was, no respect. Absolutely.
Filthy.
Crap.
She hated filthy feet.
Hated
Filthy feet.
I'm surprised that she dated Rodney Dangerfield.
Jail.
Absolutely. No, those two
Jail.
are the fucking best.
You let her go.
This is so hack. Oh my god.
Rodney was very generous with me.
How do they have listeners?
Come over to my father's famous sleepovers as
I
well.
love them.
Keep them laughing all night long.
He was a generous man.
Stupid ass.
I remember Rodney, the team doctor, asked him for a urine sample, a stool sample, and a semen sample. And you know what? He gave the doctor.
Okay, we're going
and
up
left.
the hill.
That's just what a nice guy Rodney was.
We're going 2, 3, 4.
He's eulogizing Marcus Aurelius.
2 prime.
That's a really funny story for the funeral.
Got a little
Rest in peace,
sidetracked. I'm
Rodney.
sorry. Rest in peace, Rod. Rest in peace, Marcus.
Oh.
I can't help but notice this place
Shit.
really cleared out. It's only us here now.
That's not an intersection.
Good.
Well, that is a bit of a kerfuffle. We were gonna need some extra arms to help us bury all 5 of these caskets.
Yeah.
2.
You know, my back's
3.
kind of gone.
The one we still have 5 of us here. I think we can go one man to a casket. We'll be good.
Yeah, no.
I was
Well,
gonna
we
do a
just
lot
got
of
the
kicking
one
in the
hole.
caskets.
And I'm starting to get.
Oh, it's just because
I don't
I'm
know if you
off
guys can
the
tell, but the later
example.
I stay up, the more sleepy I get, and the more confused my accent gets. And so I'm kind of
I would
running
need
out of
to
gas
shift
here
it.
as well.
Well, then maybe we want to wrap up with that fateful day
Oh,
for
that's
Marcus
good.
Aurelius.
Let's follow it.
Yeah, well, you know the life
1,
of chastity
2,
was
3.
it turned out to I guess be
On the hill.
the correct path because he got raptured.
He was the only
I
guy.
think he was the only one.
I was in this. I've seen all the security videos, and he just disappeared. All that was
I
left
remember
was
when
a
that happened.
triple XL polo shirt and the same kind of earring Barry Bonds wore.
When that happened, I had to check my Bible. I was like, I thought the rapture was going to be for all of God's children. And I went actually back through there, and the passage actually says, hey, it might be just one. We're going to do the rapture, it might be just one.
You know, nobody ever said that
It said the Bogman will be
that,
raptured.
that predestination applies to this elected of God, but they didn't say how few people that could be. It could
I
have
think
just
it
been
just
a
shows
guy.
that God's not grading on a curve, you know. You either get it or you don't. He didn't it wasn't like the top 20%. I always thought it'd be like the top 20%, but Marcus, I got nothing bad to say about him, so makes sense to me if he was the only one that
You
ran.
should have a few
You know
bad
my wife Elaine, her and I actually went to Clearwater, Florida for our honeymoon.
Oh,
It
congratulations.
was always her
Are
dream.
you married Elaine?
I did.
Yeah.
Actually, I did.
I bet
That was-
Jerry's got to be very upset.
Well, this is about 20 years ago, so.
Really?
They did have,
Grudges last a while.
they had Marcus's flip-flops encased in the Museum of God there in Clearwater. And it was very special to see that.
Wow, that's a very. I have to make the Hajj to Clearwater and pray towards it. That's a very beautiful thing.
The worst thing about going to Clearwater, like I'll go to Clearwater and see it and I'll pray at it, but I'm not doing it 6 times a day. That's a little. We're getting into gym membership territory there. Like I can only have so many social events in a day. It's a little much.
I got a question.
Not to,
It's a little bit much for your pacemaker, I'm sure.
I got so one quick question. So we didn't get a body for his casket. We just got all of his clothes, like every article of clothing he ever owned.
Like he's a pharaoh.
Yeah,
We're
we
gonna
just
bury
buried,
all this
all the clothes in there, right? That's what we're doing.
yeah, that's what the Bible says to do. If you can't find the body, just put a bunch of their junk in there.
Well, you
Yeah.
their clothing, their trinkets, their
We
Hummer,
put a lot of
gold
weights, so we
bases,
put a bunch of weights.
pots.
If you could find any spit or blood or like anything that was kind of like
I'm
that
gonna be
body.
quite honest. I was a bit surprised that Marcus owned a 3-foot bong, but that's being buried too.
He had a lot of quicksilver. He wore a lot of quicksilver. I wouldn't have expected him to wear so much quicksilver.
Well, he and Tony Hawk are very close.
I I could have sworn he told me once that he was going to leave me the jet ski in his will, but I guess it's going in here.
Well, hold
No, I
on.
know this
He's
is
not gonna
cathartic
know.
to talk about. Well, he is going to know from the other side. He's probably looking down on us now.
He was raptured.
But, yeah, he's probably looking down on us. He doesn't have anything better to do up there. It's heaven. It's so boring. Everything's fine, right? You gotta
No.
look down on earth where all the crazy shit's happening in Gotham.
How would you know you're not an actual saint?
Well, I read the Bible enough, and actually I am a saint. I'm at least saint eligible when I die.
Isn't everyone?
Have you seen how people live their lives?
Yeah, I only know one guy that got raptured, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, every one of us left is the ungodly and the unclean, and we should walk this world like it's hell for the rest of our lives.
That's about where I'm at philosophically, but perhaps we should move on to Shemp Vanderbilt.
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah, this
one's really kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies.
This is a little bit
Yeah.
fresh for us.
You know, this was a reoccur. Were you guys talking to, about the, I don't know how to say this. I don't want to say the name, but if I say a short version.
Normally you could not say it in a church, but because this is how he died, it's okay to say it.
Well, I don't want to say the word, and it starts with an N, but if I call it the N word, people will think it's something else.
It's a different,
You should just say it probably.
It's the necromancer. Let's get the, I'm hoping there's nobody else in the room. I
Also,
thought
in my
you
book, the N word is the nine. In the same way that the R word is Washington.
Wow, you really like football. You really like old-timey football, huh?
Yeah, this is a big day for you, huh,
It's
kid?
a big day for you. You should seem more excited than you are. You like old-timey football.
Anyway, so
Me and the world of tomorrow, we got a call
from Jim's wife,
Jim's
Jim's wife, Monica.
and she told us what he was
Fuck
doing.
outta here, guys.
We both at the same
Yeah,
time.
with the D.
Come on.
We both called Shimp, and we were saying the same thing.
Well, so he told us that he was always into like healthy living and like alternative lifestyles, and he joined like a healthy living organization that was run by the necromancer. And he would call us and he said, I think I'm gonna go live with the necromancer. We were like, come on, man, no, dude, don't live with the
Don't
necromancer.
join the necromancer, man.
It was so clear
It
to
was
us.
such a bad idea.
Yeah, the guy had a bald head, and he made it seem like that, like having a bald shaved head means you're like a smart or like a prophet or a wise guy. And I just get, shit, you just have a male pattern baldness. You don't know what this guy gets into.
I mean, he wore black tatted robes. Like he had robes.
This
that
is in
fit him.
Malibu. It was 95 degrees every day.
Yeah, and he was wearing the black tatted. He looked like Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now. He like walked around like that, and he would constantly talk about how he would use the dead as his army. And we were like, what? I don't understand what part of this is healthy
What's
living.
the appeal?
Yeah. I've seen Hamlet, so I'm cool with a guy walking around with a skull, but a whole skeleton? Sorry, necromancer, I'm not on board with that. I don't like you walking around holding that skeleton. Give me the heebie-jeebies.
It is, and the saddest thing about Shemp is, other than being forced into hell by the necromancer, is he's going to kind of be remembered the same way as our Deal or No Deal friend.
Yeah,
Sort of for his viral moment.
yeah.
And because I don't know if you guys ever saw it, we saw it, was he was part of the Lost Bar Rescue episode.
Yeah, that was a big moment for him because he opened a bar, which we all were very happy about, but it fell on hard times, and he had to go on bar rescue with John Taffer. And John Taffer
Did not like Shemp.
he actually, in a coincidence, he called him the real N-word, and Shemp is white, which makes this crazy.
Really wild stuff.
So they
Taffer,
had-
it's not Taffer's MO.
They had to pull it, but the bar was reopened, and you want to tell them?
Well, in a strange harbinger of things to come, he named it the Necromancer.
Yeah.
And
It really
I don't
got
know
the
if
necromancer's
Taffer knew.
attention. It really, that's kind of where it all began. It really got the necromancer.
Well, the necromancer watches bar
Did
rescue.
any of you
He's a
actually-
big fan.
Did any of you actually go to that bar within the month that it lasted?
it was horrifying.
There was
It was very
beer.
bad.
The beer didn't taste good. The
No,
cocktails
it was very
tasted
antiseptic. the sort of the vibes were gone.
The vibes were gone.
It looked like your standard run-of-the-mill like corporate bar, you know, like without a lot of like home character, but also it was just called the Necromancer for some reason.
Yeah, I thought, you know, when I was talking to Shemp about it, he made it sound like it was, you know, what's it called? He made it sound like it's cyberpunk. And I said, what's cyberpunk? And he says it's like you have cool haircuts and you wear black and you dance under bridges and stuff. And I see like, oh, that'd be a cool. And then I get to the bar, it just looks like a TGI Fridays, you know, not really anything worth mentioning.
Yeah, it's almost as if Taffer himself was an unwitting sort of stooge of the Necromancer, and he was recruiting another fallen soul for his.
It's ironic
As
because
a fan
he's
of
the
the
protagonist,
Shemp.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Shemp was a Three Stooge. Not our Shemp, but
Well, that was like season, what, 6 of Bar Wrestling?
Yeah,
He
it was
named
off
he
the
named
rails
like
for a
8
while at that
bars
point.
Necromancer that year.
Yeah, they were like all in Vegas.
Yeah.
And they were all yeah.
and for some reason
Yeah, it's like,
Tapper
oh, I
shaved
wonder
his
what
head.
he's gonna
He
do.
was bald for that year.
His eyebrows too.
Well, you know, the weirdest, and we've
like
all said a
Hellraiser.
lot of weird things about John Taffer, but I think the weirdest thing he did that season was get that surgery to make his tongue into 2 tongues, so it's forked at the end. You know, I thought that was the weirdest thing he did that
It was
season.
that and the Hellraiser needles that,
Yeah.
that poked out of his all the sides of his head.
A lot of there's no like the internet was scrubbed. Like he paid like big companies to scrub all of that, but you could still
Yeah,
get
maybe
it
he
on the
did
dark
some Men
web.
in Black stuff, because Shemp said he didn't remember it right before he go. I think he got one of those Men in Black pens. You know those vape pens that the Men in Black would shine in front of a guy's face to make him remember stuff?
Yeah.
I've been trying to find one of those for years.
Yeah, they banned those at our smoke shops. Fucking calm
God damn it.
And then the next season, don't you know John Tapper is being a 20-year-old and he's pretending that none of that ever happened. He's pushing pictures of like Barbados.
Yeah, as long as those Hellraiser needles are out. I don't know if there's much you can do about the tongue, but if you take the needles out, I'll be okay with that. Now, I know this is a place of God, but I do feel we have to discuss what happened to him at the end.
Yeah, well, that's the issue. So we worry that he's not in there, right?
Yeah, we've been kind of confused about that all day.
We look. I opened the casket, and I know you're not supposed to.
We had a spline.
but
I would
we
put a
did it.
spline on it.
It was glowing, and
I looked in them all, too.
So that's a half
Monica asked us to.
because it was
pattern
and
of
it
the
was
cone
a
intersect
green
in a really tiny,
just a green
really
roof.
tiny scale.
And it makes me wonder
Way tinier than
whether
you do
we
it.
might not be in the presence of the necromancer.
You know, he could be here. That's a good point. He could be here. He could be
Was
another
there ever a... I'm
I'm gonna
sorry.
be
I'm
so
sorry,
much-
trouble
well, now that I
ask
think
this
about it,
father.
$7 never had a half son.
Melvin.